Are those of the speakers and the host, and do not necessarily reflect those of Yoakley Scott Corporation and your sports network.
Yeah, I've been closer to Jesus before, so can you help me out? Oh, can you help me out? Am I on my own? Am I on my own? But can you help me out? Am I on my own? Am I on my own? Or can you help me out? Can you help me out? I've been scared to look in my soul. I've been afraid I would follow the road. Yeah, afraid of the things I've been told.
Hello, everybody, and welcome inside a Monday episode of Running Point. We are into another week of the sports season. Anthony Hartwig alongside Mr. Ty Bartell, and I guess I am not DJ Oakley, by the way.
Yeah, you're not, but that's all right.
It's just set to the. That's what you just switched this right back. It's that's what it's the computer's set to, and I just didn't change it. But Anthony Hartwig, Ty Bartell. Here with you with a Monday episode of Running Point. We will have Thomas Conrad of Champion Football, the head coach of the Champion Golden Flashes football team, coming on at 1 o'clock. We're also going to play an interview that, Ty, you got to do with Fitch volleyball freshman Kylie Folkwine a little bit earlier this weekend. So going to have a lot on the show today, as well as recaps of all the weekend's action. We had a lot of great results, some shocking, some not so shocking, and we'll get to those right away.
Yeah, those were a fun set of results over the weekend.
And the power rankings also came out, so we'll pop those up too, and bring talk about what the weekend's results, how they impacted the power rankings this week. Let's go into these final scores from Friday night, and we will start with Jefferson, who bounced back from that loss to Girard in week 4 and got their first NEA victory of the season, 31-14. They go to Niles and really just dominate the game.
Yeah, and I mean, they needed this win, I think, to get some respect in the NEA. It only had one win in all the conference last year, and it didn't come until the last week of the season. So being able to get it done now after coming up a bit short against Girard, and judging by how we saw Girard perform this past week, I gotta say Jefferson's defense is probably the best defense that Girard's had to face, it seems like, this season.
Yeah, they're definitely held them to their lowest score, and Jefferson's offense got right back to it after being held to 6 points back in week 4. This is a Jefferson team, I think, that proved they're different than last year.
They needed this.
That's simple. They just needed this game to prove that it wasn't going to go the way last year went after they lost to Girard. So everyone remembers last year. We don't have to kind of harp on it. They went 3-0 in non-conference. They lost their first NEA game, and then it was kind of it was a snowball factor until, like you said, the last game of the NEA schedule. So Jefferson just completely proved that it's not going to go that way. They bounced back. They went on the road, and they beat Niles pretty handily.
Yeah, nice win for them too, as now 4-1 sits the Falcons, and they have a really nice opportunity to set themselves up for a playoff push.
I think that's absolutely correct. Ty, next is the game you were at. Fitch gets the win 42-20 against Bennett from Buffalo, right? Buffalo, New York. So,
yeah, Lewis J. Bennett. Yeah, the Tigers is what they called him. But yeah, Buffalo. You could call them a wide variety of names for sure.
They were from Buffalo, or at least a suburb of
Buffalo. Buffalo area schools. They have their school district has a lot of schools.
I mean, Ty, this is the third time that a non-Ohio team has come into our area and just not really done much of a fight. You saw it firsthand. Was this Fitch being that good, or was Bennett just not up to par with that level of football? What do you think?
I thought Fitch played really well. I think Bennett was their own worst enemies, had a lot of penalties. against themselves too. And I feel like there might be rule book changes, or there might be a difference in a slight difference. And even those slight differences can throw off rhythm entirely, because it seemed like Bennett had a lot of player substitution violations is what they had too. And I didn't hear of that happening too much in games, but they had like a bunch of those flags get thrown too, and you lose yardage, and it really killed a lot of momentum drives for Bennett.
Were they trying to bring guys on, but like
I feel like they were bringing guys on later, substituting guys after a whistle's blown too. So I feel like there was a disconnect in that as well.
What kind of rules are they playing with up in New York?
But when they did, when Bennett was able to put together drives, they looked like a solid football team. Even though they lost about 3,000 rushing yards in their two top rushers from a year ago, they still look like a good football team. Return their quarterback, return their top receiver. They still look like a solid football team, but you could just tell that Fitch has been prepared. They've been playing really well too, and they had another one of those cases too where they just came out of the gates and they scored back-to-back. Got the ball back after scoring immediately and was up 14-0, and that's how Fitch has been doing it. Now the real test comes this upcoming week. You got to face another Tigers team, but it's one we're a little bit more familiar with down in Massillon, Washington.
You know, it's a D1 points for Fitch. They get the win. They get the D1 points, and that'll just continue to help them in that tough Division II region, where I think coming into Week 5 they were 4th in the region. Don't know if they're still sitting there or where they've kind of been.
I was having a discussion, and I feel like that's the ultimate goal with Fitch is you need to try to avoid Hoban in those semifinals if you can. You want to get to the regional finals and face Hoban later is your probably ultimate goal. Those top teams.
We've had this conversation before, Ty. Like, yes, you avoid them as long as possible. Yes, but at the same time, like you play them in the regional finals, you're playing a Hoban team that has wins under their belt and they're kind of rolling.
But
there's some people that think that you want to play them early in the tournament so they're not rolling yet, and maybe you can get some of those playoff jitters. I don't know what side of the fence you stay on, but it's a double-edged sword playing, like wanting to play them in the regional finals. Like you got to play them no matter what. Like you're gonna have to play Hoban probably.
If we were,
would I rather play them with momentum, or would I rather play them with I don't know. It's a tough decision.
It's a tough decision. I feel like you kind of just throw it up. If you could avoid them for as long as you can, someone else can slip them up for you. And then
if you give them opportunity to no one wants to get hurt, but you give them opportunity to get those banged up, get those bruises a little bit with high level playoff play.
And
so maybe they come in not 100%.
It gives you more film, because for teams like Hoban, with the way they're rolling, not too many teams in the regular season are going to really throw them off their game or have like film worthy things to look at, where like if they're playing those playoff games, the gap becomes a little bit shorter too the further they get into it. So if you can avoid them, you can get some more things on tape, and maybe it prolongs the process a bit, but it gives you an opportunity to maybe figure something out to try to go against them. But right now, Fitch goes down to 5, and if we were to start right now, they'd be playing Cleveland John Hay.
How about that? They win, they go down to 5, and they beat a division. Well, they beat a equivalent Division I team. So it's like, who got more points than them? And how could you get more points?
Right now, Fitch in the top 5 have a steady gap in Region 5 between the rest of the teams. There's at least like a 3-point differential, like 7 points for Garfield.
Who's 4 now?
4 is Hudson, and Hudson just had that. Yeah, Hudson just had a huge win. What was it? Not a huge one, I guess, but a big win against Wadsworth, and their defense has been really what's impressive. And they've played exclusively Division I and II schedule as well. Nordonia is also up there. Riverside's another one. Yeah, and that Riverside team's the one that beat Shard, and so we know that Riverside team's a really good team, and their only loss is 7-6 against a really good Menor team usually too.
Yeah, so it'll be interesting to keep an eye on that. But I'm surprised that Fitch got Division I points for that win, and they still got.
Yeah, it is a little bit odd that those out of state teams count for Division I wins.
Yeah, I don't know if it's automatic because they're out of state, or if that team was like roster size big enough to compare to a Division I team.
I was gonna say, because these D7 schools could be calling up that Ontario team.
Yeah, we'll take
Trying
you
to grab
on.
some
Yeah,
D1
the
points
plates
over.
2019. Come down and play JFK.
Yeah, let me get some D1 points from this.
Want to square up that 1 seed real quick.
Yeah, get it done, taken care of real quickly.
Yeah, good luck to everyone else. We're playing in Division 1 school.
Yeah.
We'll move on. East Liverpool took another tough one, 31-7 over Harrison Central. Beaver Local, their rival, they are rolling and they win 31-10. So those two rivals on the opposite ends of the spectrum, as East Liverpool is on a little bit of a tailspin and Beaver Local has caught a little bit of a fire.
Beaver Local has the rope and they're just climbing up this mountain, man, and they've gotten themselves right now into the 7th spot in their region. So that would mean they'd be hosting a first round playoff game. If we were to start today, that playoff team would happen to be Streetsboro right now that they'd face in the Rockets.
Comments saying that it's going to be a big test with Massillon Washington. They got a big win this week.
Yep. I was gonna say I was watching the score on that too while I was at the Fitch game in between like breaks and timeouts and stuff like that. And I tell you, I was impressed that they were able to hold St. Ed's to what they did too. It's always a good Massillon Washington team every year.
Yeah, and is it though? Because I feel like for the last couple of years in football, Massillon Washington has been a little bit down as a program. Like
they've had a couple of down seasons, but like
them up last year, like Fitch went in and
no,
it was close.
Massillon won. Massillon came into Austintown and beat them.
There you go. I don't know why I'm feeling like maybe it's another sport that I'm feeling like there's either a sport out there that everyone says Washington's always a big team, but then you go and you play them and it's like they're really not that good. It must not be football. I must be.
Yeah. I don't know exactly like what they've done the last 10 years. I couldn't rattle it off, but I know like historically, if I'm not mistaken, I think they have some of the most wins all time in like the state of Ohio as a football program.
Yeah, I think a lot of those came in the like 70s and 80s though.
Yeah, they got a lot of them in the 70s and 80s, but it's like historically always been one of the best football programs in the state.
We had one game go into overtime, and it was Hubbard and Struthers as they went 21-14. Hubbard got the win. Probably the most exciting game of the night on Friday. But Hubbard got the score in the first overtime, and then their defense bowed up in the Struthers' possession, and they stopped them. So Hubbard gets the win 21-14. They bounce back from their loss against Poland. They are 4-1 on the season as well.
Yeah, it was a nice win for Hubbard. Essentially, again, getting another close one.
Now you might want to refresh your mic because yours sounded like the droids from Star Wars.
As it goes down the stretch.
Now we're good.
What, I lag out?
You're at one, you lagged out. Two, your mic started to sound like a droid from Star Wars.
Are we good now? Crestview. I'd say Crestview. I was thinking Crestview, Springfield, but I've been more impressed with Crestview. In all of Crestview's losses, I've been more impressed with Crestview. I feel like Crestview can get themselves into a position, they can make some noise because they've already competed with some of the best.
It depends how, like, not the best record. Like, there are some 3-2 teams out there.
Yeah. I thought you were going like losing records. I thought we were going like who's making a push for the playoffs and who can actually make some noise. I still think Crestview.
If we're just going with a team that's like 3-2, kind of middle of the pack, not really doing anything impressive right now with their record, I'm thinking the guy, and we're not. It's not because we're talking to him. I think Champion has hit something special the last 3 weeks. We're going to really see it tested this week because they play Garfield. So, but I think Champion's playing really good football right now.
I think they are too, and I was really impressed with the way the Flashes looked this past week. Again, they're just continuing to roll, honestly, and I think that's the most impressive thing. They got themselves back into a playoff picture, sitting at 14 in that region, and that's what they want to be, man. They want to get into the playoffs. We talked with VC, we talked with Fell. I mean, they both were adamant on those goals that we want to get this team back to the playoffs.
Yeah, and Coach Conrad, I think he did a really good job after they started the season 0-2. A tough loss to JFK and then a heartbreaker to Rootstown. That team really responded to that adversity, and they've won 3 in a row after that. Not against slump teams either. I mean, Southeast is a team that beat them in overtime last year. And then they got the win in week 4 over Newton Falls. Tough, wacky game that went down to the wire. And then they kind of rolled this week too.
Yeah, they really did, and they looked good again. They looked good again for another week, and I mean it's been impressive to see how Champion, even in losses too, they've looked pretty good too. I mean, and you take that first week against JFK, they had some bright flashes too, but also first week, not as sharp as you typically see it. I'd like to see that matchup a little bit later in the season and see how Champion would fare in a rematch.
So back to back Hubbard, I should say. Back-to-back games for them that they have the point differential be 7 points. They're playing in a lot of close games. That could benefit them going into the future. Like if they get to the playoffs, they're probably going to have some close games. They're going to be no stranger to trying to pull things out late, and they got big clutch plays down the stretch in this one. They win 21-14 again. They are 4-1, 1-1 in the NE8.
Yeah, and I mean, if you can't score quickly against Hubbard, you got to force yourself into playing their style of play, which is very slow, methodical, burn a lot of time off the clock with their drives too. I mean, not too many Hubbard games you see extend into the 30s often.
By the way, while we're talking about Hubbard, we want to give the congratulations to TC Caffey, who got his first touchdown as Ohio State Buckeye. It blew up local social media all over the place on Saturday. We're happy for him. We know how good he was. And now I think the nation gets a chance to get a little bit of a taste, a small taste of what he can do at the next level at Ohio State. You saw the run?
Yeah, you
can sit here and say it's against Toledo, but look at it. I mean, he had like 4 guys around him. It looked like he was dead in the water. He found a way to just to muscle through that. And then he breaks a couple more tackles, runs down the sideline. I think it was a 40-yard touchdown. So TC Caffey, way to go, bud.
And plays X line too, roomed up there, Salem and Hubbard connection too. So we have plenty of YSN talent playing at the next level in college.
And the Ohio State social media was right on it. TC to TD.
Yeah.
Tweet. I was like, boom, boom, boom. I love it. They are right on point. TD touchdown central, and he gets his first touchdown as a Buckeye. McDonald gets their second win of the season as they win 41-8 over Sebring. So McDonald now 2-3 on the year, looking for momentum.
Nice win for McDonald too to get themselves into a nice position halfway through the season. 2-3. There's some things to look at and improve on now in the second half.
Back when I said that Hubbard Struthers was the most exciting game of the season, I think Salem wants a word with that because they won on a walk-off field goal, 23-21 on the road against Padua. Big game for the Quakers. Big win for the Quakers. And they were trying to bounce back after a tough loss to Canton Central Catholic by 4 points. So they don't get on the wrong end of this one. They hit the game-winning field goal. They win 23-21, and they have Alliance this week, and that will be a very big test because Alliance just took it to that Canton Central Catholic team that just beat Salem 2 weeks ago. So this is going to be a big, big test for Salem as they will play Alliance. They lost to Alliance on the road last year. This time they'll bring Alliance into the Quaker field, and it's going to be a good one. John Crops. That's Kentucky. What am I saying?
Yeah, I'm excited for it, though, as Salem, they needed this win, it felt like. And if they didn't get this win, it was one of those momentum-turning, I think, parts of the season where if you drop 2 in a row then as the Quakers.
You have a tough Alliance team coming up next. That would have been
some worries then. Yeah, there's definitely some worries and maybe some questions going on in some of the heads. But I think this win, showed a lot of character, a lot of fight from the Quakers being down for a majority of the game and still willing themselves to a victory. And I think this is one of those things that can definitely generate a ton of momentum for the Quakers, and it could be what they need to push themselves against an Aviator team that came up and got a big win against them a year ago.
That being said, Ty, this EBC is quickly becoming probably one of the more contested conferences of the area. You have 3 teams right now that are tied at 4-run records before conference play has started. West Branch is 4-1. Actually, 4 teams. West Branch is 4-1. Salem is 4-1. Carrollton is 4-1, and Alliance is 4-1.
I was going to say that Carrollton team's never a shabby football team ever. It seems like Carrollton always has a good squad.
4 4-1 teams going into week 5, where conference play kind of starts for the ABC. Week 6, I should say. It's gonna be a fun rocking in the last 5 weeks of the season with this EBC on the line.
It's all conference games the rest of the way, too. 6-team conference, 5 conference games, and it's the second half of the season. So buckle up. We got conferences.
Buckle up for sure. We're going to take our first break of the day. When we get back, we'll have more on Running Point, brought to you by Greenwood Chevrolet in Austintown.
21 News delivers the news as it happens, using the latest technology from where it happens. On air, online, Wednesday afternoon weather update,
very dangerous,
and on the 21 News social media platforms.
I'm on the road right now.
21 News, the Valley's only locally owned source for trusted news since 1953.
As fine as the eye can see, the finest hardwoods from the finest trees. Made for your home and within your means, Baird Brothers will help fulfill your dreams. Let life and light come shining through in quiet morns. And heavy traffic, too. Find your easy-to-afford fine hardwood floors and doors and more at BairdBrothers.com.
Every customer has a story, and at Greenwood Chevrolet, we are committed to making sure it ends with you in the right vehicle. I get to be part of somebody's adventure, whether it's buying a car for the first time, helping them get approved, or finding the perfect car for their budget. I'm proud that people trust me with their finances. They trust me to take care of them, and they trust me with their story. I'm Tracy, and I'm ready to go the extra mile for you, only at Greenwood Chevrolet.
Before the lights come on, before the workday begins, before a long day is ended, or it's time to have fun. It all starts with the people at Joe Dickey Electric. From replacing a light fixture in your home to building a substation for your business, no job is too big or too small. The people of Joe Dickey Electric power them all. Joe Dickey Electric, over 60 years of powering the Mahoning Valley.
Why choose local? Because you live here, work here, learn here, relax here, and celebrate here. 21 WFMJ is our Valley's only locally owned TV station, and our focus is local. Other TV stations don't have that same focus, as their owners are somewhere else. But 21 WFMJ is rooted in the Valley. Local people making decisions that affect your life, right here where you live.
You're looking to your future, preparing for your goals, and they're closer than you think. Because here, success is part of the plan. It's a place where academic and social opportunities are meant to prepare you for life, not just the next 4 years. You'll be equipped to face new challenges and turn hard work into a career. You're ready for your success to take root. And here's where it starts. We are Youngstown State University, and proud.
Hi, this is Tommy Clem, owner of WRS Insurance Solutions.
WRS Insurance Solutions is a local independent agency that specializes in life, Medicare, long-term care, and disability products. Call us at 330-953-3722 or visit us at wrsinsuranceSolutions.com to learn more.
Good luck to all the student athletes in the Valley.
Welcome back to Running Point on ysnlive.com, brought to you as always by our good friends over at Greenwood Chevrolet in Austintown, Anthony Hartwig alongside Ty Bartell. And we have more football finals to get to and recaps from the weekend. We have Wellsville getting the big win over East Palestine, 46-14. They jumped ahead early and never looked back. They got contributions from a bunch of different people, but Isaiah Greathouse is the name that you watch for in Wellsville, and he had a big game. And when he does that, it's usually good things going for Wellsville.
Big win for them too. 3-2 on the season. Talking about the Tigers, and I mean in conference play, getting that big conference win as well, and it makes the second half of the season look a little bit more manageable as far as playoff hopes are concerned.
Stewie with the deuce. I'm telling you, well, we're going to get to that Cheney Canfield game in a bit. I have some thoughts. I'm sure Ty has some thoughts. I'm sure Richie has some thoughts too. He's over there. Maybe I'll go lasso him to come on and talk about that Cheney Canfield game real quick. But I definitely have some thoughts while watching it. And the next score we got is Champion, like we said, getting the big win over LeBray, 37-14. And this is interesting, Ty, because in some interviews with other media accounts and articles on the game, the Bray head coach said this is the worst game they played all year. And I know that they're 0-5, but he said effort-wise, preparation-wise, they just didn't look good. He wasn't happy, and he's gonna take it in. He took a lot of blame himself, and they're going to be a motivated team going into the next week. So LeBray's next opponent better watch out, because I think they're going to have a really tough week of practice.
Definitely making those improvements too on the field. You're starting to see them a little bit more for the Vikings as they're trying to build themselves back up.
You know, they really got roughed up in week 1, 34-0. I think week 2 they were trying to bounce back from that. Week 3, they showed some fight, and week 4 they showed some glimpses of really good too. So I think that what coach is kind of seeing there is they kind of took a step back a little bit here in week 5, and he doesn't want to see that on a team that's continuously improving, and you're trying to build something special and build up the program after losing so much from last year, and they lost a lot of talent from last year. You don't want to see backtracks.
You never want to, and I mean that's going to be the biggest thing you're going to try to battle as you try to build that program back up.
So we talked about it a little bit earlier. Champion's one of those teams that they lost week 1 with JFK. It was a tough loss, of course. And then they lost not an overtime game, but they lost a late lead to Rootstown. They lost that game. It was one that they felt like they let go. They should have been able to win that game. So how they responded to that was they blew out a Southeast team that beat them in overtime last season. Then they beat Newton Falls in a game that got kind of crazy at the end. They were able to hold on that time for a win instead of letting the lead go. And then they come out and they beat LeBray 37-14. Champions on a tear. They're on a run, and they responded it's a response from a really tough loss in week 2.
Yeah, and they needed it. Again, 3-2 feels a lot better halfway through the season than 2-3, and it was something that Champion needed. They now exceed their win total from a season ago. 2-8 this team was last year. So to be 3-2 and to just say you've taken at least that step forward, now let's build on it now. We have that foundation set. Let's keep building.
The two players we talked to on Friday, Joey Fell and Nick Vesey, both scored a pair of touchdowns for them as well to lead Champions offense, as they have been splitting the offensive workload pretty well all season. Next game, we have Warren JFK winning 28-7 over Marlington. This is a game I think it took JFK maybe a quarter to get used to the depth and the size of Marlington, but once they did, they started to roll, and they did enough to win 28-7.
Yeah, nice win for them too, and they continued to roll all the way to another victory in week 5.
That's a D7 team getting a D3 win on the road.
You love to see it too. You need to pick those kind of points up, and they pay off big time.
All right, this is the big one of the night. The one that got a lot of headlines, the one that was hyped up coming in. Louisville versus Jacksonville in the battle of unbeatens. And I think Vinny Malone told Alex Shavi, "You'll have your time, young buck. You're a good quarterback. You'll have your time. This is my time." And he went, and all he did was tie a state record for most touchdowns in a game with 9, as Louisville won 62-20.
Just like Vinny Malone waited behind Bo Brungard too, waited patiently for the throne to be open, and I mean simultaneously as Jackson Milton suffers their first loss, Mineral Ridge also did. I know we'll get to that one, but the point is Louisville now stands atop the USC Scarlet Tier Mountain as kings now.
One fell swoop, Louisville takes the lead in the MVAC. They still have to play Mineral Ridge, which I still think
they're in the what? They're the stratosphere now, while everyone else is below them. They're soaring above everyone else in the conference.
They still have to play Middle Ridge. I think it'll be a test. I think Middle Ridge lost, on
That's
a
the only,
last second touchdown to Springfield. Springfield gave Lowville a pretty good fight too, so I think that's a comparable game. So I still think it'll be a test against Middle Ridge, but that's a
it will be
big
fun. Yeah,
step forward. Lowville making a statement. A lot of people were starting to get a little bit on Jackson Milton's bandwagon a little bit, and I think Lowville wanted everyone to know that they were the team to beat this year. So
9
62 to 20.
passing touchdowns, unbelievable.
9 touchdowns, and we were after he scored 8, we thought that was going to be it. This kid got 8, but then we get a text from Alec like, watch this drive right now, he's going for 9, and he got it, and that's incredible. Ties the state record.
He wanted to make a statement to everyone else in the conference, and I think statement received, and everyone definitely raised their eyebrows at that one.
And that's 62, so that means he was responsible for every touchdown that Lowville scored.
Yeah, he single-handedly went out there and played a gem from under center. He really took the reins and went up against another undefeated team in the conference and just flat out said, no, not tonight.
Ursuline had a battle on their hands with Warren Harding. It's always a good game between these two, but Ursuline came out on top by 2 touchdowns, 28-14. A big bounce back win for Ursuline after getting beat last week by Fitch.
And this was it felt like the story of the year last year for Warren Harding too, is they can compete with some of the best teams in the state, but they had that trouble. Right. Yeah, they had that trouble closing it out, and it's the same situation here. They've competed with some of the best teams in the state we've seen over the last few weeks, but not being able to close it out. They lost some senior leadership, but still have Dallas Jett, that quarterback over there, that is so phenomenal for Warren Harding. He's a tremendous athlete.
What a name.
Yeah, I know. It's a great name.
Literally, you're the Jet, right? So
yeah. Dallas Jett, like it's spelled too with a Y, like D-A-L-L. I think it's D-A-L-Y-S or it's D-A-L-L-Y-S. I think D-A-L-Y. I think it's one L.
People confusing him with the city, so
yeah. No, I mean I love anytime you can add like a Y in your name to it. It makes it look cooler.
Y's and Z's are always look cool, right? Because you don't see them a lot. So if your name starts with a Z or it got a Z in there.
Good. You gotta look at Olivia Hughes, right? With the A.
Throw off the unique a little bit. Good call with that. But back to Warren Harding, and I feel like I said this a lot last year because they kept coming up in big games. I kept saying they struggle making the game-winning type plays, and they continue to do that. This is a game. Probably look on tape. They probably had opportunities to take control and maybe win the game. They couldn't make those plays that you need to make to win games. They make plays to be competitive. They're definitely a competitive team. They're definitely a good football team. But some teams just have it. Some teams don't. That ability to make game-winning type plays down the stretch of football games. And last year, Warren Harding struggled with that all year, and that's why they lost really close games to really good teams. And they seem to struggle with it again this year. Tough schedule. They're definitely competing with good teams. But you got to take that next step, right? You got to go from competing to winning.
The thing is now, and I mean, I respect Coach Steve Arnold over there so much. I think he's a phenomenal coach. I think he's done a great job with that Raiders program. Now it's going to be, though, for that second half of the season. Now it's like, okay, we can't keep learning from losses now, because if we keep suffering losses, there's going to be nothing to learn from, because there's going to be no playoffs after the season. So this is where I feel like Coach Arnold, and this is where you see some of the best of the coaches do it, where he's going to roll up his sleeves and be like, all right, we need to start winning ball games now. Like, we're more than good enough to get out there and win ball games. We need to start doing it. But to speak on Ursuline's side, credit to the Irish, because that's a tough football team, and it's very easy after dropping your first game of the season to go in and drop 2 in a row, especially Warren Harding. They feed on those momentum. They feed on that kind of stuff. But no, Ursuline with Coach Reardon, another fantastic coach that is so good at getting his guys like level-headed before big matchups. They were ready. They went in there, faced the beast, came out with a win. Credit the Irish, credit Coach Reardon, and credit Ursuline. They got to 4-1 in 5 weeks.
Don't forget, this is on the road too. So
yeah, exactly.
On the road in Monmouth Stadium, and they kind of controlled the tempo. And then, like I said, they get the win 28-14. Ursuline bounces back. They are 4-1 on the season. We will keep going as our next score is Wyndham getting the win over St. Thomas Aquinas, 39-22. Good to see this Wyndham team. We know they had that spot where they had to cancel a game because of some injuries in their program. Good to see them get back and really getting some impressive wins. 39 points, a lot to put up.
They got 2 wins in back-to-back weeks, too, so it's just like needed a little bit of rest, got themselves healthy, and you know what? Credit the coaching staff, credit the administration to make that kind of decision, because that could be something that derails a football team, and it could be it's a very tough decision to make, first and
It
foremost.
would have been real easy for Wyndham to be like, all right, that's it. We're done. We're not gonna risk it anymore.
0-2 on the season. We have injuries 3 weeks in. Like, just call it.
But they made the right decision for their kids. They said, hey, these are kids that can go out and win football games. They can have that experience of playing football. If we can put them on the field, then we're going to do it. And they made that decision. It's not the easy one, because like I said, it would have been easy to say, okay, that's it. We're not gonna play anymore. Let's just pack it in. But they made the right decision for the kids, and that's what I like to see. I like to see administrations putting kids first and making the decision that benefits the student athletes.
Fun fact as well, those 2 wins put Wyndham in playoff positioning. They're number 14 in Region 25, and if they were to play, it would be Lowville would be their draw, so we would have
now Rockets and Bombers.
That'd be a great matchup, a Rockets and Bombers matchup.
And you know how much I love gold. So those are 2 of my favorite uni combinations here, because I love Wyndham. They're looking so good right now. But I like the gold domes and the blue and the navy, a Lowville. So that'd be a good looking matchup.
I'm happy for Wyndham. I'm happy for Coach I. I'm happy for all those kids to be able to battle themselves into playoff positioning. And I'm sure our buddy BMAC, Brandon McPherson's loving it over there as well.
Southern got the win, 51-14 over Columbiana. It was close for a little bit, but Southern ran away with it.
Yeah, like yikes, big time. Southern again. Back-to-back weeks of 51 points now. They did it to Lisbon. They did it to Columbiana. And, 102 points in 2 weeks. That's something serious. Their lowest scoring game was Crestview, where they scored 12. Like, they've scored 34 against East Canton, 42 against McDonald. This has been a great offense, too. But I like that they have that game against Crestview, because it also shows all those teams like, hey, when we need to bear down defensively and win a close ball game, we're capable of doing that as well.
Well, that's for sure. We got some more scores to go over, as Gerard got the win on the road against Lakeview, and this was the statement win, right? This was the Lakeview is the darling of the NE8. Everyone was like, oh man, Lakeview's playing so well, and Gerard just brought everyone a little bit back down to earth and said, let's put the spotlight on the Indians real quick.
Brought me back down to earth, and I apologize to Gerard, because I was definitely feeling the Lakeview hype train. Pick the Bulldogs. I'll fully disclose that in week 4. But no, Gerard proved to me once again why you never count this team out, and they did so in a big way. They let everyone know, like, there is no upset story. There is no other team that could be competing with South Range for this conference. It's us. It's us this year. It's our turn to step to the giant. And that's what Gerard showcased right before a big matchup. They said, no trap game here. Nothing to worry about. Business as usual. Get us ready for week 6.
I think once I heard one person say trap game, that was it. That was like, okay.
It literally was. It's business as usual. Get us to week 6.
Right. And they did. And guess who's coming to town week 6?
It's going to be this is a premier matchup now. It's
undefeated, right? It's South Range versus Gerard. South Range has one game where they've shown a little bit of chink in their armor. Now, it was, you could argue, self-inflicted with 6 turnovers, but at the same point, Gerard's looking at that saying, this is not a team that's coming into our place that is completely unbeatable.
No, and for Gerard too, this is also a team, like you said, that's been to state championships too. Is one, like they're a team that has that experience, and I like this matchup too, because I think these are 2 really good quarterbacks. They have really good defenses. They have really good secondary offensive options. And you and I both said, and I think before the season even, that we kind of both felt like Gerard might be that team that could compete, the one that has the best chance to compete with South Range for the division, and we might get I guess a conference, I should say. I'm saying division like I'm thinking other sports, but for a conference.
They ain't even the same division. What are you talking about?
This conference championship for the NE8 could be here in week 6 that we see.
Yeah, very well could be. And whoever loses that game is going to be in a cloud of teams that are sitting at the 1-loss range. With Lakeview, Jefferson, and Hubbard still with just that 1 loss. So the loser of this game, not out of it by any means, because whoever wins would still have to play those teams. But you don't want to put yourself in that hole. You want to have the driver's seat in the NE8 going forward.
Yeah, and for this is just, like I said, starting off 6-0, but more importantly, getting 3 wins in the conference too, starting off 3-0 in the conference. It's a huge way to start for either team.
We go into PA a little bit as Riverside over the border, not the Riverside that we were talking about in Division 2 of the Ohio State Region 2, Division 2 Region 5, excuse me. But Riverside over in Pennsylvania beat Mohawk 32-28 on Friday night to give you a final score from PA. As we continue our kind of look into PA football, we love it. Some other scores for you. Let's see, 35-7. Uniontown Lake was able to beat Louisville. We knew that was going to be a tough game for the Leopards. Uniontown Lake came in boasting, I believe, an undefeated record 4-0 on the year, and it was a big task. And Lake kind of flexed their muscles a little bit.
Yeah, Uniontown Lake, a solid football team, and they showed it once again. They put up a big win, and they continue to move and continue to roll.
Leopards are 1-4 on the season now as they look to try to find momentum in that independent schedule that is definitely a gauntlet of teams that show up on their slate.
For sure, no doubt.
All right, so here's the one that everyone wants to talk about. It's the one that shook up the power rankings the most. Cheney gets the win over Canfield 16-13. Pick 6 late is the one that sealed it. And the Cowboys, it was a tough, brutal, physical game. I'm thinking both teams have to recover on Saturday and Sunday after it. But they kind of, once again, proven to people that they're not the team of last year. They're not the team to get pushed around. They're not the unphysical team. They're not the undisciplined team. They get the win 16-13.
Yeah, and it was a defensive battle, to say the least, all the way through 4 quarters. It was crazy seeing this game and tuning in when I could. And honestly, going into this one, I picked Cheney to win this one. And the reason why I picked Cheney, and I think I kind of alluded to it on Friday's show, but the reason why, and I watched that Steve Leslie, his interview with Cheney Kids. They do it over at Hackett's, but I watched the week prior to the Canfield game, and you can just see by the way that LeBron Dunlow, by Rolando Bruno, by the way these kids were talking, like, this has been a game, that Canfield game has been on their mind since last year. They've been thinking about it. They've been wanting this matchup. They've been wanting to prove themselves again against Canfield, specifically Canfield. They've been wanting to prove themselves against. And it's so hard, I feel like, for a team, because if Canfield wasn't going in with that same mentality, and they're not, I'll tell you why they're not, because Canfield was thinking Chardon. Canfield's thinking Chardon going into this season. That's who's on their mind. That's their team that they need to get over. That's taken them out. So when you have that team that's so hyper focused on a team like, we got to beat Canfield, we want Canfield, like, it creates so much momentum. It's hard to stop a team that wants something so bad like that, so much that they're willing to do anything. And hey, at the end of the day, Canfield's still that close from victory. Take nothing away from the Cardinals, but a rare mistake, and Cheney exploited it. Defense came through big time, like it has all season long for the Cowboys. Defense wins big games, and it wins a big one for them too. And they definitely make a lot of noise in the division now, for sure.
And when West Branch lost to Canfield, remember, it was like, oh, they were close, but they just couldn't beat that team. Now Canfield on the other end of that. Like, no, nothing wrong with it, but there was a good team. You lost by 3. It's kind of like, if you were on one side of that conversation, you have to be on that side. Now, I was one of the guys that said, even though West Branch lost, are still one of the best teams in the area. They're kind of proven the last 4 weeks after losing that game. I still think Canfield is one of the best teams in the area, even if they lose to Cheney by 3. I'm not going to sway and be like, well, now Cheney's got it. Now Canfield's, they lost, so they got to be out. I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to pretend like Canfield's all of a sudden not one of the best teams in the area because they lost a football game by 3 points to a very good Cheney team.
Let's also be real and say Cheney has to refocus because they have a chance to win the Steel Valley Conference now this upcoming week against Ursuline. You beat Ursuline, very real possibility that Cheney can win the Steel Valley Conference, and that would be the first time Cheney has won the conference since returning back to play football-wise. So that would be a huge milestone for Cheney, and just another week where they can add another feather in their cap, and moreover, so that there's going to be another Division III team in their region that they can beat, and to set the tone against Canfield and Ursuline back to back, it would certainly help. Speed does kill, and Cheney has
Speed kills. And one of the things that's been true since the start of football, you can't compete, right? Is you either have it or you don't. And Cheney's speed, Canfield kept trying to push. I don't know how much you have to watch, but they kept trying to push the perimeter, run outside the tackles, and Cheney's speed vertically from sideline to sideline was just too much. They couldn't set the edge. They kept I should say Canfield's blocking couldn't set the edge because Cheney did a really good job setting the edge and stopping those outside runs.
It closed that playbook a little bit for Brock Lowry and didn't keep some of those lanes open that he's used to in games as well, because he does a great job, Brock Lowry does, of setting that tone and really opening a lot of holes up later in the games as well. He sets that tone early in the game, and then he really exploits it second half. He really never had that chance to do so. Cheney shut down a lot of plays, took a lot of big parts of what makes Canfield's offense so great away from them and forced them into other ways of trying to score, and Canfield just couldn't do it that night.
Major props to Cheney, because as that game kept going on, the narrative was who's going to blink first, right? Who's going to twitch? And I would not have guessed that it was Brock Lowry and Canfield. I just wouldn't have guessed that they blinked, and he did. He blinked. He made that little mistake, and Cheney pick six, took it right back to the house, and it's incredible. It was incredible because this was not the team that we saw last year. Cheney would have blinked last year. Guaranteed it.
Yeah. Mistakes do get magnified, especially later on in games. Still, for Canfield, I mean, the loss does move them down to 3 in the region. Cheney now number 1 in Region 9 in the division. Chardon number 2, Canfield number 3. So if that's
set up, right now, if we were if all the teams made it to a regional semifinal, that means Canfield would have to play Chardon, and if they win, they'd have to play Cheney again in a regional championship, which would be good for YSN because that means we're guaranteed a team in state.
Right now, Geneva would be scheduled to play Canfield, and that's a solid Geneva team that we've seen too. So that'd be interesting as well, no doubt. But yeah, really cool to see that two of our teams at the tops of that division too, that region. And if I was Dover right now, I'd be watching out. If I was the Crimson Tornadoes or the Tornadoes, I don't know. Are they Crimson
Tornadoes? We did this last week. I think we looked it up.
We did too. And I don't know if we ever got confirmation. I think Joe Itel calls them the Tornadoes, so we'll just call them that.
We're going with Tornadoes. Oh, the Tornadoes. Man, remember how mad Crestview was last week, and they took it out on Camel?
Yeah.
I think Canfield's going to be really upset this week, and they go to Dover. So
yeah. And Dover, but here's the caveat: Dover's coming off of their first loss of the season against Steubenville. Yeah, they're both mad. Dover just lost their first game to 5-0 Steubenville, and that's going to get crazy too. Two teams that are always putting up a good game. It seems like every year Dover and Canfield put up a classic for us. But both teams are mad. Both teams want to get back in the win column, and most importantly, both teams feel like they can't suffer 2 losses in a row. 2 4-1 teams as well. This is going to be a good one.
Yeah, that's going to be a good one in Dover. How about this good one? Springfield gets their first win of the season. They knock off undefeated Middle Ridge, who everyone kind of was starting to like Jackson Milton and like Lakeview. They were starting to get on the bandwagon a little bit for Middle Ridge, and Springfield just said, "Hey, we're still Springfield. Let's not blow things out of proportion here." Their defense won this game. They held Middle Ridge to 12 points, and then a late touchdown and 2-point conversion gave Springfield enough to win 20-12.
And Springfield right now 18th, just on the outside looking in, even with just 1 win, but now 1-4 on the season. I feel like Coach Guerrero and the whole New Middletown community took a collective breath and said, "Okay, we're okay." Because now you look at the second half of the season, some favorable games on the docket still for Springfield, to where you could get a few wins, you could still position yourself for a playoffs, and then hey, you had a whole season to gain experience. Let's roll the dice in the playoffs. But you really needed this win, because if Springfield dropped, and this was a tough one against the Mineral Ridge team, 4-0. Springfield drops this one 0-5. It's tough. It's really tough to try to just not that they couldn't get wins from there, but just to get your guys and boys motivated after an 0-5 start. It's so hard to keep them motivated to go out there and keep performing when they're not seeing results. So getting a win and doing so against a good 4-0 team, this might be just exactly what Springfield needed confidence-wise.
The celebration after the game felt like Springfield just had this big weight lifted off their shoulders. Like, okay, we got our first win. And they just kind of let it go. They let it rip. Even I think I saw Coach Guerrero letting out some emotion too. I mean, he's usually the stoic guy that kind of just keeps it calm until they get to their main goal. But a mid-season game usually doesn't get him hyped up for a win. But this is one that he knows that they needed. The boys know that they needed, and you could tell after the game that it was a win that meant something to this program. It meant something to this team, that they took down a conference competitor. At the end of the day, Mineral Ridge is going to compete for that conference. I still think they're going to give Lowville a test. I still think they're in the hunt. So the fact that Springfield took down them, it's a big win.
It's a huge win for them, certainly.
Now they have to root for Mineral Ridge the rest of the season. They got to get those points, right?
Yeah, for sure.
So a win against a 9-1 Mineral Ridge team will look a lot better at the end of the season when you talk about, they might be in that spot where they're fighting for a 15, 16, 14, kind of spot in the playoffs.
Yeah, and that's hey, you just need to get a seat at the table. Everything
Give
else.
Give me a seat, and try not to make it that 16 seat where who you have to play.
Yeah, exactly. Honestly,
just give me one seat and try not to make it the 16. West Branch offense is continuing to just roll. They win 48-15 over Howland. This is a close game last year. This year, Howland just didn't have enough weapons to keep up with West Branch.
No, and West Branch pretty much controlled tempo from start to finish. Got a big win ahead of conference games opening up inside the EBC. And for West Branch now, 4-1. They've really responded well since that week 1 drop to Canfield, and they've looked good since as they open up conference play starting week 6.
I think they're proving my thought after the loss. I mean, like I said, when they lost against Canfield, I still believe they were one of the best football teams in the area, and I think they're continuously proving it. So far, their best win, in my opinion, is the Ridgewood win. When that Ridgewood team came in with a 38-game streak of not letting 30 points up, and West Branch scored 38 on them. So they broke that streak, and then West Branch also has a streak of now 21 games of scoring at least 20 points. So 31 games, of at least scoring 20 points. So big streaks for West Branch's offense. They met a defense last week that wasn't giving up much of anything, and they went and they did their job. They do their job again, 48-15 over Howland.
Yeah, they do, and they do so in a big way.
Just how they drew it up. Get it? Puns.
Yeah.
Waterloo, don't sleep on the Vikings here all of a sudden. Waterloo gets another win, 27-24 over Western Reserve. They are starting to cook things up a little bit.
Yeah, I've been riding with the Vikings. I've been riding with them all week. So I've been ride or die with my sweetheart school for sure. And you know what? This was one I felt like Waterloo had a good chance in with a Western Reserve team that's just suffered another heartbreaker. Western Reserve's another one of those teams, man. That record doesn't correctly reflect how solid that Western Reserve team was. But I kind of felt like Western Reserve might be down in the slums a little bit after that. And Waterloo, coming off of another win in the season, opened up the conference win, looking to continue that role. Don't look now, but conference-wise, Waterloo's 2-0 inside the MVAC as well.
How about the brutal games that Western Reserve has lost? They lost in overtime to Conneaut.
Yeah.
They lose to Jackson Milton by 1 last week. And now they lose by 3-1.
You feel for them. You have to. I mean, it's heartbreakers.
They're one of the like Warren Harding. They're teams that are competing with this can't find a way to make those game-winning type plays down the stretch.
Yeah, I mean that's what I've said too. Is like Western Reserve is just one of those teams. They get right to the end of the game. They just can't grab that brass ring at the end. Hopefully, they can turn things around starting this week because the Blue Devils have looked really good, really competitive the last 5.
It's right there. All they have to do is just grab it. Some
Grab
scores on Saturday. Mooney, how about this? They really impressed at Lutheran East. 32-0. They took out some frustrations after losing that Lindsley game in the game they had a lead at halftime. So Mooney rolls 32-0 as they get their second win of the season, and that's just one little chip on their playoff spot. And like we keep saying, if Mooney finds a way into the playoffs, Division 5 has to keep their eyes open.
Mooney's a solid team, man, and I've said it before. They got a good schedule on their slate, but they've showed it time and time again that they're not gonna go anywhere. They've been competitive in every game that they've played this season as well, and that's what I've been most impressed with Mooney is just the fact that they're going out there, they're competing no matter who the opponent is that sits in front of them.
Ashton O'Brien may have played the best game of his season so far as we continue to praise his growth as a player. He has just done a lot for this team, and they've really they've stepped forward as a program.
Number 13 right now, Mooney is in that Division 5 playoff, and guess what? That would line them up right now with Fairless. So Fairless right there, champion right below them as well. So some teams fighting for those spots.
Another team that had been struggling of late rolled on Saturday as Boardman gets the win over East 42-8. It was a game that once again Boardman had control of it from the start. They take the opening kickoff. They drive it right down the field, capped off by a couple of touchdown runs. They were up 14-0 before you could blink. And East defense, they looked pretty good the first 3 weeks of the season, just could not keep up with the weapons that Boardman had.
Yeah, and that win got Boardman at the 16th spot in Region 5 for Division 2. And so hard to make the playoffs in that, but Boardman right now is in it with a 3-2 record. And for Boardman to stay in the playoff spot now, you got 5 weeks to kind of, like I said, game plan for the best road to stay in the spot you're in.
Valley Christian wasn't slowing down one bit either, 45-18. They get the win over Lisbon on Saturday night to cap off the football on Saturday.
Yeah, Valley Christian just pretty much has been saying since that United win, we are here for the EOAC, and unless someone takes us out, we're taking that crown.
And I'll say it again, I said it after the win over United, what makes Valley Christian so hard to compete with. They have the athleticism and the physicality in the secondary to play press coverage. And that's what they did against United. They pressed, they bumped the receivers off their routes. You know, they were physical with the wide receivers, and most teams, when you do that, United's going to run by you because United has really, really big and fast receivers. So Grant Knight, you try to bump him a little bit, he's just going to give you a little shimmy, and then he's going to run past you. He couldn't run past Valley Christian because they're athletic too. So big physical and athletic combination in their secondary made them really tough to contend with for a team like United who likes to throw the ball. And likes to kind of, toss the ball out there in a spread offense. So that's what made them tough against United. Now, it's going to be a different matchup against Southern. But I think Valley has also proven that they can play physical football when they have to. And their backs can run in between the tackles. And they can definitely just say, hey, you want to play, condensed football instead of spreading us out? Try this on for size. We got big boys that are physical too. So I think it'll be a different game against Southern than it was against United, maybe a little bit lower scoring, but I don't think Valley Christian is going to struggle with the different style of football.
What people are failing to mention too, both United and Valley Christian have to travel to the Wigwam to take on Southern. And week 8 for Valley, week 10 for United. You got to go down to Salineville, and tough place to go in and take a away victory.
Weird things happen at the Wigwam.
Yeah,
for sure.
For sure. We've been seeing it on our network the last few weeks. And you're going to have to go through Salineville. It's going to have to run through there. They're also undefeated, saying, hey, don't forget about us.
That'll do it for our weekend football recap. When we come back, we'll have Thomas Conrad, the head coach of Champion Football, coming on at 1 o'clock. We'll go into some volleyball scores that happened over the weekend. Plus, we have power rankings for football out and much more on Running Point, brought to you by Greenwood Chevrolet in Austintown.
Locally owned and operated, Sheely's relaxed shopping experience means browsing and lounging is always encouraged.
Find Flex Deal and more at Sheely's Furniture and Appliance, because the best things in life happen at home.
How lucky are we to have not one, but two 18-hole Donald Ross Championship golf courses right here in our backyards. Mill Creek Golf Course was selected by Golf Week as one of America's 30 best municipal courses, continuing to challenge golfers of all levels and featuring golf instruction by PGA professionals, a state-of-the-art practice range, a PGA of America recognized pro shop, kids programs, and a relaxing grill room for a memorable golf experience. For more information or to schedule a tee time, visit millcreekmetroparks.org.
Fall is in the air. The kids are back to school, crowds are cheering for the home team, and Myers Family Insurance is prepped for another crazy Medicare season. Every year there's changes, some big, some small, so it's important to have a conversation to make sure your plan is going to meet your expectations for the coming year. Give our team a call today to schedule your annual review.
For all your Medicare needs, call Myers Family Insurance or visit us on the web. Check us out online at myersfamilyins.com.
Going from mindful to mindful sometimes requires a helping, healing hand. Insight Clinical Counseling and Wellness offers a continuum of mental health and wellness care. At Insight, we're changing the way you receive counseling and wellness services with experienced licensed clinicians and expertly trained wellness staff. With 4 locations in Mahoning and Columbiana County, along with telehealth services, Insight offers clients quick access to care when they need it. Transform your mental health and wellness at Insight Clinical Counseling and Wellness.
Welcome back to Running Point on ysnlive.com, brought to you by Greenwood Chevrolet in Austintown. Anthony Harbig alongside Ty Bartell, and we are going to welcome in a coach that is on a 3-game winning streak right now. Champion is really turning some heads. Thomas Conrad from the Flashes comes on, and when our color turns purple, you know we're talking a champion. Coach, thank you so much for taking the time and joining us for the second time this season on Running Point.
Yeah, guys, thanks for having me. It's always a pleasure to come on and talk a little Flashes football and let you know how the boys are doing.
Coach, I mean, from an outsider perspective, it seems like since week 1 of the season, all I've seen is just improvements week to week to week. And I mean, yeah, you started off 1-2 in the non-conference, but 2-0 in the conference slate right now, and including a competitive game against Newton Falls. From your coaching perspective, what have you seen from the boys from week 1 to 5 that you'd like to highlight, and some things you'd like to improve on going into the second half of the season now?
All right, I'm going to answer that question kind of backwards. I think that we need to improve on just the little things. You know, a lot of our games, we've made mistakes that have kind of cost us. Against Newton Falls, I think we fumbled at the inch line trying to go in, for a touchdown. We've had some key penalties the last 2 games that have really kind of stalled out drives for us, kind of put us behind the chains. And we can make big plays and we can get past, a double stick situation, double chain situation, but we are at our best and most efficient when we are, moving the chains, executing every play, getting 3, 4, 5 yards a pop. So I think that's the focus going forward, is taking care of ourselves. We have to tackle better. We have to have better ball security, and we just really have to eliminate costly mistakes and keep key areas of games. The kids are anxious and eager to improve week to week, so this isn't anything that has to do with coaching. And I'm being honest, it's the kids buying into the program, taking ownership of the culture of the program, and the kids holding each other accountable to improve. We have great kids at Champion. They're coachable. They're hungry to learn. They're good students, but they're also great students of the game. So we see them come in every Monday, win or lose, with renewed focus. We start with energy and tempo. That's one of our core values on Monday. So they hit the field running, ready to go. So it's really a credit to their work ethic, their heart, their dedication to the program. We see improvements every single week. And for 2 years now, we've improved tremendously from week 1 all the way through the season. So we have great kids that want to learn the game, want to get better. So I give them credit. I'm proud of them.
Coach, we had a chance to talk to Joey and Nick on Friday, and one of the things that they both kind of said was that after week two, the way their team was able to stay together and stay confident was a big turning point in the season. From your perspective, what did you see? What kind of conversations did you have with the team after week two? And how were they able to bounce right back and beat a very good Southeast team pretty handily in week three?
Yes, after week two, Rootstown game, we were on the field after the game, and I said to them, this shows you how extremely difficult it is to win football games at any level, high school, college, or even pro football. It's extremely hard to win football games. It's not just go out and win. You have to do a lot of things right down the stretch in key moments in the third and fourth quarter to be able to win the football game. So I told our team, we spent a lot of time out on the field after that Rootstown game. We let that one get away from us. Rootstown is a tremendous program. We came out and played them tough and had to lead the whole day, and kind of just made some mistakes, like I said earlier, down the stretch. But I told them we can make a decision. We are at a crossroad. We can go down one road and phone it in and say that that's it, or we can go down the other road that's more difficult, more time consuming, and we can improve and become the team that we all know that we are. So after week two, we had to do some internal investigation and kind of look at ourselves, look in the mirror. I had to look myself in the mirror and say, are we doing the right things? Are we doing enough to put our athletes in position to be successful? We had to make some changes on our schemes, on our mentality, on how we want to attack people. But the kids were open for that. They were excited about it. We moved a few positions around, and that's when we moved Nick Vesey to tailback to help us back there. And it wasn't anything other than Nick coming to me and saying, let me shoulder more of the burden. Like, I'm outside the formation playing receiver. I want to help this team win football games. Let me take some of the stress off of my teammates. Let me shoulder some of the burden. So we moved him there. And you talk about a kid that comes in and learns all new rules, all new steps, had to learn all the plays from that position, pass protections, run schemes, routes out of the backfield. He probably spent more time down at the varsity house than I do on a daily basis that week going into Southeast. But we made those changes. The kids were receptive to them, and we saw them come out against a really good Southeast football team. And Southeast scored first, 7-0 with like 10 minutes to go in the first quarter. And when I played a champion, we'd all looked at each other and said, uh-oh. But these kids are different. They didn't do that. They came over to us and said, all right, it's our turn now, our ball. They got the ball, they marched right down the field, and they put points on the board. And this just, to kind of end this question, this is just the kind of kids and the kind of team we have. There's 6 seconds to go in the first half against Southeast, and Nick Vesey comes over to me with Joey Fell and a couple other kids on the offensive line, said, Coach, we're at the 35-yard line. It's a long field goal. We want to try to score points here. So I call a play, and Pat over at Southeast, Coach Yule, called a timeout, and they came back over to me and they said, let's run this play and let's try to get 6 points on the board before we go in at half. So at that point, when you have all those guys coming to you and they know the system that well to be able to say, this is going to work, you trust them. So we called the play they wanted to run. We scored a touchdown right before half. We went in with all the momentum. We came out and put 45 total points on the board against a fantastic football team in Southeast. So that was the turning point. That's when the kids really took ownership of the program. I think that's when we all started to gel, and they did the mental work to learn the offense and the defensive schemes. It was awesome to see. That makes coaching so fun and so easy, really, because they're in charge of the program. It's their program, not mine. So we let them run the program.
And that answer gave me a couple of follow-up questions. First one I have, though, is that Newton Falls game is one that could have gone the same way Rootstown did. I mean, it was down late. You guys need to make some big plays. Was that a game where you saw really quick growth from your team, making plays down the stretch like you talked about, and the changes were kind of getting the results that you wanted to see?
Yeah, for sure. That Newton Falls football team is an awesome team. They are not a 1-4 football team like their record shows. I mean, they played us tough. They were physical up front. They were good defensively, took us out of our game plan after about the first quarter. But that's, really, we're losing right about the end of the third quarter. We're losing 17-16 to Newton Falls. We get the ball, we go 3 and out. So we punt. It's 17-16. We know Newton Falls can run the football, and time is starting to tick away off the clock. So we had called a timeout, and the kids were not, I don't want to say angry, but they were just kind of like, okay, enough is enough. So we talked, about it and said, listen, we got to get the ball back somehow, some way. Connor McDermott forced a fumble. We got the ball. We go down and score a touchdown. And then we saw him play, like the level of play, like there was like no mistakes after that turning point. We came back out on defense, played great, got a stop, got the ball back, and ended up scoring again. But it's funny, after we score those 2 touchdowns, we stop them again. They punt. There's like 2 minutes on the clock. We have the ball down on our 10-yard line. We run the ball 3 times, and it's funny because I tell our offense, listen, we're going to go out, we're going to line up, and we're not going to snap the ball. It's 4th and 2. We're going to see if we can get them to jump off sides, but I know they're going to bring pressure, try to block a punt because there's only a couple minutes left in the game. I told my center, don't snap the ball. So we line up in the offensive formation, and we're just supposed to hard count. We snap the ball. Newton Falls gets the ball in our territory. They score a touchdown the next play on a busted coverage. That shows right there. We kind of regressed there for a second. We started making those mistakes in key situations, and then we come out and Hunter Haynes and Ian Orwig made a tremendous play on the onside kick. Got lined up right, actually fixed the alignment. One guy was lined up wrong. They fixed the alignment, made their teammates right, and we got the ball and won the game. But that's the changing culture of our program. That's what we see. We see kids taking ownership of those mistakes. Like Friday night against LeBray, Joey Fell was playing safety for us, and he busted it. He played up on a hitch, and they ran a post right down the middle, wide open for a touchdown to make it 14-7. In years past, it would be like, what are we doing? And there would be excuses and stuff like that. There was none of that. Joey came right off the field, said, that was me, my fault, won't happen again. And we see that not only out of our seniors, but out of our juniors, our sophomores, and our freshmen. So I really think that the kids are doing a great job of owning the program and making it their program. So all the credit to them. They're doing a great job.
I mean, I know the players are always staff is hungry for more. You guys take those little victories and having more wins now already this season than you did last season. Do those little victories mean something to you guys during the season? And what does 3-2 do for you as far as the season is concerned? How does the 3-2 outlook look for you guys?
Yeah, I think we approach every week really just focused on getting better at the things that were not maybe as good as we wanted them to be on a Friday night during a game. And, those kids really do a great job of being receptive to coaching and yeah, it's nice to be able to go out and beat a Southeast team that we lost to in overtime last year. But we know when we play them for a reason. They get us ready for our league. Our league's tough. So we play them for a reason. We play Kennedy for a reason. They get us ready for our league. They're a great football team. But it's nice to be able to go out and win games that we were close in last year. The LeBray game last year, we got the ball first. We went right down the field and had a turnover, or we would have scored first. And then it was back and forth for about 2.5 quarters, and LeBray was a tremendous team. They just kind of ran away with the game there. And Newton Falls, that's always a rivalry. Even when I played a champion, that game was physical, the big hits everywhere. And, there was a lot of anticipation every week leading up to that game. So it's nice to be able to go in and win those games against great football teams, because all 3 of our wins have come against good football teams. 3-2 right now for champion means a lot. It makes the grind, as we say in the coaching world, that much easier. But I'm just happy for our kids. They work so hard in the off season. After the season ended last year, I'm getting calls that following Monday after we were done. Like, when's the weight room open? Is the weight room open? We want to lift. Like, hey, we have to take time in between. You have to have a down period. But they were eager to get in there and start working. I don't think they were satisfied with what transpired last season. In this season, we see that same mentality. School gets out at 2:45. We open up the weight room at 3:00. We have 42 kids in there lifting 2-3 times a week. We don't have to go in there and make them do it. They want to do it. And the seniors are leading that. I have senior linemen and junior linemen like Ethan Ray, taking younger linemen under their wing, getting on the whiteboard after practice and going over schemes and making corrections to what we're doing. So being 3-2 is justification for us that putting in the work truly works, right? So if I'm preaching that constantly, do the work, and we want our team to do all the work necessary to win, well, what we're preaching is proven to be true to them. So I think that's justification, and it's great for our kids because of their work ethic, their heart, their dedication to our program, and they deserve to win. I've said that all year to our coaching staff and to my wife and everybody. We've got great kids and they deserve to win. So I'm just so proud of them. I love them. They're doing a great job, and I'm just glad that they get to take some successes out of the season here. It's great to see. Happy for them.
Coach, before I let you go, I do want to give you the chance to preview this week. You got a really good Garfield team coming into champion. What kind of things do you see that make Garfield such a good opponent, and what kind of challenges are you going to face, and what do you guys have to do to win this game?
Garfield is a tremendous football team. They are physical up front, and they have running backs that will run you over. Thank goodness I'm not playing now against these Garfield teams. They were good when I played, but they're just a well-oiled machine right now. Coach Moser, Coach Ward are doing a great job over there. They're a tremendous team. The thing that really stands out to me is just how physical they are and how aggressive they are defensively. So for us, we need to be able to, on offense, take what the defense has given us. We have to be okay with taking the 2 and the 3 yard pass or the 2 and the 3 yard run and living to play on 2nd and 3rd down, and not try to be heroes, so to speak, not try to always go for the splash play, for the explosive play. Take what the defense has given us, and it's a chess match. We know that they're going to be well coached. They're fundamentally sound across the board defensively, and we need to be just as good. We need to make sure that we're blocking well, we're staying on blocks and sustaining those blocks. We need to make sure that if we're in the pass game, we're protecting our quarterback, and we as coaches have to do a good job of getting the ball out on the edge. I'm very confident that our kids, when given the opportunities, can make plays out on the edge. So our game plan going in is going to be featuring some different things. We're going to give some different looks, try to confuse the defense a little bit, get their eyes in the wrong place, and try to get the ball out on the edge. We think we can run our run plays like buck sweep and power and counter with the best of them, and this week is a great test to see that. Offensively, when I was at Southington, we ran that single wing, and in fact, I went over to Garfield, to Coach Moser and Coach Ward, to ask for help when I was installing that single wing offense at Southington. And that single wing offense at Southington won us 6 games that year because of its physicality. And it's hard to prepare for. You don't practice that every year. We have an advantage, though. I've run that offense. I know the calls. I know the schemes. And our kids ran that offense last year. So it's a little bit easier for us to prepare, but Garfield runs that offense fantastically, and it is a well-oiled machine. They've got 5 guys that can carry the rock, so we have our hands full for sure. I'm excited. The kids are excited for the test. This is a great test for our football program and for our kids, and it's an opportunity for them to take the next step and grow. No matter the outcome, we want to see growth and improvement, and if we can take care of the small things and fix some of those internal things and match up and be in a game with a great Garfield team, I think it's tremendous for our program. It's tremendous for our kids, and it really sets us up for the final 4 weeks of the season moving forward.
Coach, thank you so much for the time coming on with us, talking about where the champion program is right now and previewing this week with us. We love talking to you, and we'll look forward to talking again real soon as the season keeps going.
Yeah, man. Thanks, guys. I appreciate you having me on. Go Flashes.
And that was Thomas Conrad, the head coach of the 3-2 champion football team that is on a run right now, and they have a big test coming up this week against Garfield. Like you said, a very physical football team. We know what Garfield's about. No Anthony Dimma anymore, but it's like they haven't missed a beat in the backfield. Still really talented running backs that'll, like he said, truck you over if given the opportunity.
Program, yeah. I mean, Garfield is a great program. They always bring physicality. They always solid team to the field every year, and it's going to be a great in-conference game on the MPS side.
You sound like a droid again.
Oh, I really love Gremlins.
You might, you know what? Well, let's play your interview with Kylie Folkwine, freshman from Fitch Volleyball, while we try to fix the ties, a couple of connection issues. It's a perfect time for a great interview with a great freshman from Fitch Volleyball. So here is Kylie Folkwine once again of Fitch Volleyball.
Welcome in, everybody. Ty Bartell with a volleyball player profile as we go into Austintown Fitch, and one of the bright upcoming stars in Kylie Folkwine. She got recently a player of the game. We're going to go a little bit deeper and get to know her a little bit more with the player profile. And I guess let's just start with the freshman experience so far now. I mean, you've been a freshman for a couple months. You've now gotten to experience varsity athletics as a high schooler now. What's that kind of experience been like for you coming up into the high school ranks and playing varsity level volleyball?
I would say it is completely different from what I've seen. Coming from my middle school 8th grade team to straight varsity, the pace, like what people expect from you to play like is different. Like you have to have like less mistakes. Your mentality has to be there. Like in middle school, like if you make a mistake, yeah, you can just shake it off. But in this one, you have to learn from it. Like you have to keep going when you learn from it and try to help yourself.
How impactful has it been having Riley Simons to be there and play with? I know you two have had a close relationship prior to, but you guys really didn't have many opportunities to play together. So it must be exciting going into freshman year and having this opportunity now.
I would say I really love playing with Riley. She's my best friend throughout the whole middle school. We were never allowed to be on the same team, so they had to like split us up. But now that we're on the same team together, I think our chemistry has to be like one of the best on our team because she knows me and I know her, and like we know each other well enough to like figure each other out and like when we're playing on the court together. So I think it helped the team a lot and us a lot.
I know a lot of the seniors on this squad too, and I've seen them come up since freshman year and how they've grown. What have you learned from some of the seniors and watching their play style, and what are some of the things that they've taught you, namely, since joining this team?
I would say that they've taught me to like always try to stay positive, especially Joe. Joe has taught me so much that I have learned in volleyball in under a month that I have learned my whole life. Like Joe has been probably the biggest role model for me. And then like everybody else on the team, like Avery, Julia, Sierra, there's a bunch more, but they've just been like such like great supporters of me, and I've made so many great friends, and I'm gonna have so many great memories by the end of the season from them.
You also work hard, though, as a student as well. You had a 4.0 GPA throughout middle school, and I know that's something that takes a lot of hard work and effort to do that and be a multiple sport athlete. How do you find the time to do it? How do you find the motivation to do it and keep up with it like you did through middle school?
I would say I kind of try getting all my school stuff done in school, so I didn't have to do anything outside of school. In middle school, I really didn't have to study that much because everything just came to me. But now in high school, it's a lot different. Then I have to start studying a lot more. Like as soon as I get home from school, I study, do my schoolwork, and then I go to practice, and then I come home and do more schoolwork, and then I finally get to go to bed.
Yeah, I get that too. It'll keep ticking up too. Try to get as much as you can at school done. I was the same way. I completely understand it. I mean, you had a list of accomplishments that you did, and not just volleyball, but I mean, softball, basketball, multiple sport athlete, like we said. I mean, do you prefer one sport over the other to play, or is it just depending on the season for you?
It really just depends on the season, and like for me, it just like how well I'm doing. Like say if I'm in a slump for softball, then that would be like my least favorite sport at the time, and if I'm doing really good in the other one, then I like that one. But if I'm doing good at all of them at the same time, it's so hard to pick because each of my teammates from every single team, I just love them so much, and like I could want to be with them all the time.
I mean, I'm sure you've met the basketball team already. I know you're catching Sydney Watts, who already made a huge name for herself this past season for Fitch. You're involved with a lot of high-profile athletes in this Austintown program. Does it ever get overwhelming for you dealing with so much sports, or how are you able to handle that too, and just trying to learn so much as your first year in high school?
I would say there's so much, like, I feel a lot of pressure coming in because, like, everybody knows my name. Everybody knows that I'm very athletic and talented and have the capability to help Fitch throughout the years. But, like, for each and every sport, I have to fill in a huge role. Like, I have to make sure I'm consistent, I'm confident, and I have to make sure that I'm always like picking up my teammates. And even though I'm a freshman, I'm one of the youngest ones on the team. I have to act like I'm a senior and helping them, like how they help me.
And saying that too, I don't feel like we get to hear it enough from the freshmen that get into that varsity level right away. Not too many freshmen start at the varsity level. It's a tough transition from that middle school level to the varsity level. I mean, outside of what you said in this academic world, you talked about being a student from middle school to high school. What are the differences you've seen in the volleyball realm from middle school now into high school?
I would say that like when I was in middle school, like when we had to play like Canfield, Borman, like the teams that we still play in high school, that we play in high school, like from playing them, I noticed that like I'm not playing the people that I used to play, so I'm not familiar with them and I had never seen them play before. And coming up to varsity, like I have to be so consistent because in middle school I wasn't the best volleyball player, but like me now compared to middle school, I'm like a completely different person. I've improved so much, and everybody else from middle school to high school has improved, but like playing, it's just the tempo, the speed, like it's just so much more like pressure, and like you have to like own up to everything every single minute of the game.
What gives you that kind of determination to stick with volleyball? Like you said, you had your struggles with it early on. What kind of gave you the determination to stick with it and ultimately start finding success in the sport?
I would say my mentality, my confidence is what I think held me back throughout the first couple of games of the season. And I wasn't able to play my first 3 games because I went to Florida for softball, so I had to sit out. And I think that got in my head a little bit, and I was like nervous that like, what if I don't play because I was gone? But then like playing my first game, I was really nervous and I had a bunch of mistakes. But then like noticing that the team, like we all came together and that we were all showing like how like we can come together and like work together, I just felt like appreciated and like that they were proud of me. And I think that them being like confident to like set me and that they like think that I can do it, that it just made me like feel more confident as a player, like that I can prove myself to be in the position that I want to be in.
You were in high-level competition with some of these volleyball players outside of the sport of volleyball. I know about your competitive dancing with Ava Hewlett before you retired to sports. What was talk about that a little bit too, in the competitive dance, and what was that experience like, and what made you ultimately, I guess, retire to sports then?
I would say me and Ava were best friends, and kind of sucks that we don't get to play each other for volleyball because she goes to Middle Ridge, but during dance, I think I did it for 10 or 11 years, and it was so hard to balance out dance between softball because I would have dance from like 4:15 to like 9:30, and then if I had a miss softball or dance, one of the two would always be mad. So I guess I just like started to grow liking more sports instead of dance, and so did Ava Hewlett too. And now we both don't dance.
Do you find any of the experiences that you had in dance that have helped you in sports in any number of ways?
I think my coordination and like my ability to catch on to things very quickly, like my footwork for like any of my sports, it's so much more easier to me. And like I would say my flexibility, that also helped me a lot from dance. And I would just, yeah, that's really what dance helped me with.
I mean, it's been an awesome season that you've been off to already, and I'm sure you're learning so much along the way as well. I mean, let's go into just this experience with the coaches that you've gotten to have time under at Fitch too. What's the coaching styles been like too, and what have you learned from all your coaches now at the varsity level?
I would say that each coach has taught me something different. Like Coach B, the JV coach, she taught me how to correct my swing. I would always swing for a line, but now I'm able to open up. And Coach Bartlett, she really helped me with like my confidence. Like she just reminded me that just shake it off and you can always help from the next mistake. And Coach Mo, she's just always like cheering me on, and she's always so excited for us after every single point. And she's what brings like the hype to our team.
I mean, the hype is definitely there. And I mean, there's all kinds of great volleyball players that you've gotten a chance to compete with and compete against now. I mean, talk about some of those other friends too. You talked about Ava Hewlett. They're already off to a great season as well over there in Mineral Ridge. You have any other friends that wear different jerseys too that you pay attention to their seasons and Do your friends check up on you and ask how your season's going?
I played club with Reagan Price and Mallory. I don't know how to say her last name. Malich from Lakeview.
They're both really
we
good.
played against them. That was the only game that we lost. But if we played them again, it would be a good game. But like playing against them, I was like, I knew what they were gonna do, and so it was like kind of like easier to like predict. But it's just really good. So.
A lot of competitive volleyball, a lot of good teams. That was an exciting matchup, and I mean that'll be one too. We look forward to in the future. Hopefully, we can see that again. Let's get to some rapid fire questions before we get you out of here, Kylie. And let's go first off: sunrise or sunset? You a morning bird or a night owl?
I would say sunset.
Sunset. All right, let's go. Dream job or lottery? Which would you prefer? Win the lottery or get your dream job?
The lottery.
The lottery. What would be the first big purchase for you if you got the lottery?
I would buy a mansion.
The mansion? What's the dream car that goes with that mansion?
I would say probably a Benz or a G-Wagon.
Talking about buying stuff, what's your last impulse buy now? What's the last thing you bought on impulse?
I have a package of silk pillowcases on my bed.
What is your best way of learning? Do you learn more by watching or by doing?
Probably by doing.
Prefer books or movies?
Movies.
Out of all the records that you've taken a look at Fitch Athletics, which one do you think you have the most or you have the best shot at?
I would say I don't know if it's a thing, but I feel like for softball, I can maybe hit the most home runs.
That's always a good record, too. Always keep those goals big. How about superheroes? Do you have a favorite superhero?
I would say Catwoman.
Who's your real life hero?
I would just say everybody in my family.
Would you move forward in time or back in time if you could time travel?
Backwards.
How far back would you like to go?
I want to go to the 20s. I want to be one of them flappers.
Oh, boy, way far back. What do you think is the thing people most misunderstand about the sport of volleyball?
That they just like don't realize that how like much you have to like have a strong mental game for, because it's so easy to make mistakes, but you have to be so fast to like get out of them and get out of your head.
All right, Kylie, we've appreciated your time. Before we let you go, I want to give you that chance to thank your support system and shout out all the big names that have been there for you throughout your career.
I would just say thank literally everybody that has been in my family, my friends, my volleyball team, my basketball team, every single one of my coaches. They have helped me improve so much. And just really anybody that I have a connection with and that I talk to on the daily has been there and helped me with everything that I have accomplished and am willing to accomplish.
All right, Kylie, we're excited to see how the rest of your volleyball season turns out. Good luck with that. Good luck with the other sports that we're going to be looking forward to seeing you in, as well as the season come along. This is Ty Bartell, Kylie Folkwine player profile.
That was Kylie Folkwine from Fitch, the freshman. And Ty, obviously, you've got a chance to see her live. I've had a chance to see her live. Just immensely impressed with Kylie on the court. But now I'm even more impressed. I mean, she's a pretty well-spoken freshman. Had to be her first long-form interview, I imagine. But she didn't miss a beat.
No, she didn't. And I mean, you could tell she's really knowledgeable in what she's speaking from in any sport she's talking about. She's speaking from knowledge. She's been there. I mean, this has been her life too. But like what I said, that she has that kind of hardworking mentality, but she has the right attitude to go with it as well. She seems like she's very humble, and she's always wanting to be better, and she's always thanking those teammates and the people that have been there for her, and she's always willing to learn, and you'll love to see that. And it's not just her. There's a lot of freshmen that are coming up with this mentality, and we've seen it time and time again. A lot of these freshmen, from Sydney Watts to Lavraine Gaskins, that come up and have immediate impacts on their teams.
She wants to be the home run queen, and that's a big task, but man, I believe it. After seeing her play volleyball, I think that, and definitely hearing about her on the softball field. I haven't seen her live yet, but I've heard incredible things about her on the softball
I
field. So
love
I
setting
have
the
no
goal big.
problem seeing her be the home run queen.
Set that goal big, and I mean, right, shoot for the stars. And as a freshman, to kind of call that shot, that'd be wild too. Looking back on it 4 years from now, if she's inching close to it.
Her and Sydney might be fighting for that.
Yeah, she's already off to a pretty good lead with that. I think 10 she got double digits.
Yeah, but I wonder what the record is for most of the season.
Oh, I gotta look back. I can't. I have to look at that one too.
It might be one of those ones where it's like a Sosa versus McGuire race for the record.
And with the last year since senior season, her junior, they're just sitting there matching. Hey, I wouldn't mind it. I wouldn't mind it at all.
One's got like 17, the other one's got like 16 going in the last 2 games of the season.
Crush it. McGuire's Sosa the home run. Now, I expect her to succeed or excel in whatever she does, whether or not she gets playing time or not at the varsity level in every sport. Her attitude, I assume she would too, but her attitude that she's going to bring and just being a teammate as well, and her development under these players, I think are going to serve a huge role on all the teams she plays on. But I think she gets playing time wherever she goes. I think too, like she brings that kind of physicality as well, where she kind of almost Carrie English-esque, where she doesn't care. She's just gonna go out there, do her job. She's gonna play to the best of her ability, and she's gonna give it her all and leave it all out there. And you love to see it. Already third on the team in kills and aces, and putting together a really good season as a freshman. And not too many freshman starters in this Fitch program.
No, but there are 2 of them that are pretty good right now.
Yeah, and there's 2 starting. Yeah, that start significantly right now. And there hasn't been a ton in Fitch's program history.
No, but they got 2 good ones. Maybe before the season's over, we'll catch up to Riley as well.
Yeah, we'll definitely
She
have
already has a record.
Simons.
How about that? She already has a record for most assists in a match.
She has a great chance. She might break all the assist records because, like I said, throughout Fitch's history of volleyball, not too many 4-year starters at that setter position, and Riley Simons has a chance to be one. And if you know the Simons name too, her brother Todd was dropping dimes on the basketball court as well as receiving dimes on the football field. So very athletic family over there.
Emma Bartlett was a great setter, but I think she's better watched out. Her record's better watched out at least.
Yeah, and I mean, Riley Simons has done a phenomenal job early on, and you love to see young talent. Like I've said too, these freshmen have been coming up big all over the sport.
Not phased at all. Like that's what impressed me about a freshman setter. I know you come in, you have a couple of senior hitters that are on top of the world right now. They're down in some of the best hitters in the area, and your job is to put them in great positions to be great. And it's just been incredible to watch that develop.
And speaking with Jocelyn Jordan too, she speaks so highly of Riley Simons and her setting ability, and just like how her and Riley's chemistry is already formed too. And I mean, that's great, and also great on Jocelyn's part, because Jocelyn does a great job of forming chemistry now. 3 different setters in 3 different years, and she's
had something not to. Yeah, you're right. Like
she's had production in every single year. She's very workable with as an offensive player, and she does a great job as well. But she speaks very highly of Riley too, and to get those kind of compliments from your senior attackers, you're doing something right for the team.
That point has to make you wonder if Jocelyn's career numbers would be even higher if she had one setter throughout her whole career.
It could be.
I get it, because her first year as a starter, she was a middle blocker. So those kill numbers were down because you just don't set your middles as much, because you have to be in system to set your middle. You can't out of system set a middle. So yes, the transition from middle to outside for junior season really boosted those numbers a lot. And I think you can tell that if you went back and looked at her totals, her sophomore year compared to her junior year, they go up because they moved her to the outside hitter. Granted, they had some outside hitters that were really good her sophomore season, so there wasn't really a spot for her in the outside in her sophomore season. They needed her in the middle. But once Afton Roby came up last year, they were like, hey, we have a pretty good middle right there. Let's just move Jocelyn to the outside. And she is shined in the outside as well. So that would probably do things. But I still wonder if she had a consistent setter, and all of her setters have been great. Bartlett, great. Burke, great. Now Simon's great. So it's not like she went down a peg in level of setting, but just that familiarity, maybe a couple more kills per match that come from the familiarity that you have with the setter that you've had for 3 years. Who knows? It's one of those conversations. But the stats are great. It's not like they're begging them to get better. Stats everywhere are great for Fitch, and they're one of the best teams in the area for a reason.
The one thing you have to look at too when it comes to Fitch volleyball and what Jocelyn Jordan has really done throughout her career this year, especially the most digs I believe she still has on the team as well. So she's getting the most digs. So she's getting a lot of the first touches. Yeah, she does at 100 digs already 100 plus digs and 100 plus kills. And then also in the serve receive game, most receptions as well at 124 this season for Jocelyn Jordan. So she's getting a lot of the first hits and she's getting a lot of the last hits as well, is what that's telling me too. So she's working in conjunction a lot of the time solely with the setter sometimes, and getting that ball up and getting it set back to herself after the second hit. But her all-time career-wise, yeah, she has a great amount of digs too, 415 now total-wise. So that's another number Jocelyn Jordan's rapidly improved on. But yeah, you talk about the freshman play. Riley Simons is another one we got to talk about. She's going to be one we'll have to get in and get an interview with. She'll be a great athlete there as well. But yeah, Kylie Folkwine, like I said, if it's not a name you know now, get to know it real quick because she's going to be around for all the seasons sports-wise. You better learn her name real quick.
We're going to take our last break of the day. When we come back, we'll quickly go over the football power rankings, and we'll also go over the games that are being on the network tonight on a Monday. So we'll be right back on Running Point, brought to you by Greenwood Chevrolet in Austintown.
Hi, this is Zell Bush. Hi, this is Tom Flynn. Hi, this is Steve Brissett. Hi, this is Ryan Miller. Hi, this is Rich Sakui from WRS Wealth Advisors. With our combined 80 years of experience, WRS Wealth Advisors are the area's premier wealth and retirement specialists. Call 330-965-0370 to learn more about our individual and corporate financial planning services.
Or visit WRSwealth.com.
Go Raiders.
Go Dogs.
Go Cats. Go Dogs. Go Tigers.
Jimmy Sutton here, Director of Isle, Purple Cat, and Golden String. We are happy to support YSN and two of my favorite people, Scotty Mincher and Super Dave O'Malley. We are an agency that provides services for adults with disabilities. We infuse humor, passion, and joy into their lives. If you know of any folks with disabilities that need our assistance, please contact us.
Reliability, innovation, scale. These three values are those we look forward to in our business and in our team. If you're ready for a reliable employer who looks constantly to think outside the box in big ways, we're ready for you. Apply now. Help us push the envelope and deliver success. Envelope 1. Take that one extra step.
Winter, spring, summer, and fall, Mill Creek Metro Parks is your park for all seasons. Make a memory in the park. Plan your visit today at millcreekmetroparks.org.
At Greenwood Chevrolet, we offer a worry-free experience for all our customers. From sales to financing and even service, we'll help build your perfect vehicle
and lock in your trade value
while your vehicle is being built.
No worries.
We guarantee financing,
regardless of your situation or credit history. No worries. And when your vehicle needs service,
our award-winning team will get you back on the road.
No worries.
That's what going the extra mile means. Only at Greenwood Chevrolet.
Change. This one word can make you break out in a cold sweat. But with change comes wisdom, experience, and understanding. At Myers Family Insurance, we can help make changes in Medicare, insurance, and retirement a positive experience for you and your family. We've gone through changes, like our new office and new faces to help our family of clients too.
For all your Medicare needs, call Myers Family Insurance. Check us out online at myersfamilyins.com or find us on Facebook.
You're not waiting to see what the world has in store for you. It's more about what you have in store for the world. All you need is the opportunity. All you need are the resources of a large university and the advantages of a personalized academic setting where you can experience new worlds in the arts and sciences, business, and education and make them your own. We are where you shape your future. We are Youngstown State University and proud.
Hi, I'm Colin Chupa. And I'm Kelsey Clem from K-Squared Marketing. Our boutique marketing firm specializes in media planning and buying, public relations, event marketing strategies, and strategic sponsorships. We can integrate our services with your existing game plan, or we can be your entire marketing team. Your goals, our game plan. Let's win together. Call K-Squared Marketing at 330-623-2730 or visit ksquared.marketing to learn more.
Welcome back to Running Point on ysnlive.com, brought to you by Greenwood Chevrolet in Austintown. Anthony Hartwig alongside Ty Bartell. And Ty, before we get into what's going to be on the network tonight, we do have some power rankings to get into on the football side that have been released for the week. Let's go over them. And it starts with Austintown Fitch taking their second week at the 1 spot. Canfield loses, so they slip out at 2. South Range takes their place. Cheney is 3. Warren JFK is 4. Girard is 5. Lowville 6. Canfield is now 7. West Branch right below them at 8. Valley Christian 9. Ursuline 10. What say you? I'm taking it in.
Oh, my mic was muted. No,
Okay.
I mean
I couldn't see you moving, so I didn't know if you were talking or not.
no, for the power rankings though, it just seems like the win against Canfield for Cheney had the same kind of ripple effect for the Cardinals as the loss against Fitch for Ursuline did, and you saw them kind of spiral out of the top 5, still in the power rankings though, and I think that's well deserved to have a few of these teams that, even though despite the one loss, I think are more than deserving to be on this power rankings list. And I think Canfield's one of those teams. I think West Branch and I think Ursuline are all well deserving as well. I think with the way the list shook out, I think you really see the voters too move Cheney up, and I think that was well deserved. I think the top 5 makes sense going into this week.
So last week, the Fitch was 1, South Range was 3, Cheney was 4. Let's see, JFK was sitting at 5, right? And then Girard moved up from 5 to 6. Lowville moved up from 7 to 6. Canfield dropped from 1 to 7. We have West Branch stays in the same spot. Valley stays in the same spot. And Ursuline stays.
I'm sorry. I'm just going to – hold on. I'm just going to do one of these. 1 second.
1 second.
1 second. I'm a very visual driven person. So let's.
You want to see it, don't you? You're going to pop it up.
Yeah. I want to do it for the viewers as well. If we're going to be talking about it, let's toss it up too. I just had to go grab it while we got it. But yeah, there we go. Let's just show them fresh out of the oven too today. And it also gives you where the previous week they were at too, which also helps.
So like
I feel like Cheney should have jumped a little higher personally. Full disclosure, I had them in my top 2, but I think for Cheney to be in the top 5 and jumping up, I think it was fair. South Range has done nothing but win too, so I think it was fair to reward the Raiders after another big win against Poland too in that fashion. JFK, same case. They've done nothing but win. I think they should have also moved up, and I think Girard's made a good case.
It's funny because we talk about 2 and 3. They're pretty comparable because they both have one game where they struggled against a team that they're really a 1-win team. Because South Range struggled against Struthers, only won by 10, and Cheney only won by 5 against Mooney. So they both have games that they didn't necessarily blow out a team that maybe on paper they should have. Very comparable teams, 2 and 3. I think they're kind of interchangeable.
And I feel like for this list, it makes sense. And I think a lot of people had the same mindset as me, is put Girard in the top 5 for this week, because then you're going to get a matchup of 2 top 5 teams this week, right, with South Range and Girard. Lowville's right there looming to take that top 5 spot and continue moving their way up these power rankings. I think Lowville would take the spot of whoever drops that game then in that top 5 between South Range and Girard. I think Lowville is perfect to sit right on that outside at 6.
What do you think teams like Canfield, West Branch, and Ursuline would have to do to get back into the top 5, or back into the top 4, or whatever it may be?
We've seen, and for all the voters too, and there's a decent amount of them. I think for what I've seen from the voters, it depends week to week. What have you done for me lately? Who have you beaten lately? And for Canfield, West Branch, Ursuline, especially with one loss, if they can get another one of those big wins, hey, I tell you what, Canfield beats Dover, and if they do so in convincing fashion, it might be enough to shoot Canfield right back up into the top 5. That's a good Dover team they're matched up with. Hey, same thing with Ursuline. If Ursuline goes and beats Cheney this week, I don't see how you don't make a case for Ursuline to maybe not make it top 5, but definitely be right on that cusp at 6 or 7 again.
And Cheney, Ursuline was what they were before they dropped the 10. They got as high as 3, I think.
Yeah, 2 or 3, I thought. Yeah, they were up there on that list at one point.
So South Ranger Girard's going to lose in this week. So you're going to have one top 5 team lose. The question is, who wins and takes their place? That's going to be the big thing, because Lowville's right there, obviously. Canfield's got Dover. As you said, Ursuline has Cheney. West Branch starting league play. So what team kind of takes that spot in the top 5 that someone's going to lose in week 6? That's going to be interesting.
I feel like, for me personally, I think Lowville, especially if they win, regardless of what happens, I feel like if Lowville wins again, they've earned enough to get themselves into top 5. That win last week was impressive too. Just as impressive, I feel like, to me, as Girard blowing out Lakeview. Yeah, I know Vinny Ballone had the state record tying 9 touchdowns. That was impressive, but I feel like it was right for this week. Put Girard at that 5 spot and let those 2 teams face off for that top 5 spot.
Ty, this means that if Lowville takes that spot, then there's not really this week. There's not room for Canfield to do, like you said, win convincingly and go into the top 5.
Yeah, I mean,
replacing a undefeated team, unless one of the other teams slips, and But, I mean, I guess if Cheney loses, then there's a spot for Canfield and Lowville both to get a top 5 spot. But then you have to argue, like, does Ursuline deserve to get the top 5 spot instead of Canfield after beating Cheney, who Canfield lost to? It gets real murky when we get later into the season. We start comparing these schedules, start comparing common opponents. I feel like if Ursuline beats Cheney, then you could make that argument. They're like, hey, Canfield lost to Cheney, Ursuline beat them. So if anything, and not if not top 5, Ursuline should be ahead of Canfield wherever they land.
Yeah, and I think if that's the case too, if you see an Ursuline beat Cheney, and then regardless of what happens, I feel like Lowville would move into top 5, and then Ursuline would have room to move to top 5, and Cheney would have to drop out of the top 5. That Cheney wins this week, though, they might have a serious case for number 1 spot then in the power rankings.
Like, because Cheney's playing a 10, but South Range is playing 5.
They are, and it's tough though. It is tough. because I mean, I guess it's the time and when you're playing the power ranked opponent too.
But Cheney is not in like they have a big matchup, but right when the team right ahead of him also has a really big matchup. It's not great timing to jump into the top two.
Yeah, but it depends too. I feel like how they play in each of these games do.
I think eye test has something to do with it. So if Cheney wins convincingly and South Range doesn't win convincingly,
Yeah, if like South Range is like a maybe a 7 or a 10 point game and Cheney's like 21 points, there is no if. Look at the Cheney graduate showing supreme confidence in his Cowboys.
His only win.
But I think there's definitely room for all of these teams to make a case. Valley Christian is sitting there like, we haven't lost either. We just beat a pretty good team on Saturday after beating United.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like Valley Christian, Southern also has a gripe. Southern's been sitting at 11 for like all season.
Edison still has that undefeated record with 3 shutouts on their defense. They beat a really good Matthews team. They have Toronto this week, so it's a big matchup for Edison to kind of prove their worth. They're sitting right there on the bubble too. You can't forget about the Wildcats. The power rankings is going to be talked about a lot more on Power Hour with DJ and Richie. They'll have an hour to break down the power rankings and give you their take on it. I just wanted to touch on it real quick on Running Point, so you can hear a lot more about more in-depth opinions about the power rankings on the Power Hour. Tonight on the network, before we get out of here, Brookfield, and these are the volleyball games. Brookfield will travel to Springfield. That should be a good one. Noah Doty on the call there, 7 o'clock first serve. Edison travels to Beaver Local. Michael McKenzie will be on the call. That's a sneaky competitive volleyball match too, I think, between those two teams in their conference. Lakeview travels to Canfield. That's good. That's middle versus middle. You know, when Lakeview beat Girard, it was because it was outside strength versus middle strength, right? Reagan Price, Tara Lytle destroyed Girard down the middle, and they couldn't really, and then Girard did the opposite on the outsides. Now it's Tara Lytle versus Abby McElroy, you know, Reagan Price versus Addie Fonderlin. Both teams have 2 pretty good middles. So it's going to be interesting to see how that goes down. Liberty will go to Cardinal Mooney. I will be on that call as Liberty, they're trying to do 5-set magic, right? Cardiac Cats. They've been dubbed the Cardiac Cats. They'll try to do it again against Cardinal Mooney in Youngstown for the big matchup there. Maplewood goes to Badger. Matt Morrison will have the call there. Badger 8-2 now on the season after falling last week to a very good St. John's volleyball program. South Range will be at Boardman. Donnie Riccatelli going to have the call there. 7 o'clock first tip, first serve. 7 o'clock first serve from Columbiana as Ursuline comes to town. Joe CBO going to be on the call there. 7 o'clock first serve in Louisville as New Philadelphia comes to town. Bob Burrick taking that one. We also have tennis on the network tonight as Lakeview goes to Struthers. Bob Zanny on the call there. We have field hockey on the network tonight as Magnificent goes to Orange, and that will be the school taking care of that. And then we also have some soccer going on the schedule today as Boardman travels to Austintown Fitch in girls soccer, and Salem travels to Ursuline. Matt Mayer will have the call in Fitch, and Dom Polkovich and Rowan Urbach will have the call in Ursuline for those 2 soccer games. So that's a big Monday slate. You got soccer, you got field hockey, you got tennis, you got volleyball. Wherever your heart desires, make sure to check out the action on YSN Live tonight. YSNlive.com/live is where you can find it. All of it is free. Make sure to check it out. I am taking a 22-hour break. I'll be back with DJ tomorrow from 12 to 2. And Ty, I'll see you on Friday, buddy, for Friday preview.
Week 6, everybody, get ready.
All right. Thank you so much for tuning in on this episode.